Dhyarya Nashta Preshu Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashoki Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki Nigamal Galitam Padam Shukam Makaramrita Dravya Samritam Pibata Bhagavatam Rahasha Mariam Mahodahoda Sikabuvi Bhavakaham Krishna Sadama Bhagate Dhammagyana Vihishaha Karunashtad Vishamasha Paranako Dunoditaham Twamapiyada Vishuta Vishutam Vibu Samyapyayana Vidambiraksharam Prakyahi Daho Mahodidam Sanklesha Nirvana Musanti Nanyataham Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Jayatam Sarvado Pango Mama Maner Matergati Matsavasha Parambojo Radha Madana Madano Sriman Rasarasarambi Bhamsvara Karsan Venu Shaneva Gopi Gopinata Sri Sedaham Divyad Vrindaranya Kapadrumada Srimad Radnagara Shima Shanishto Shri Sri Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prasiddhabhi Sevamana Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Taya Cha Jagadi Taya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Mangalang Bhagavan Vishnu Mangalam Gudhadrajam Mangalam Panadi Kaksho Mangalayatanohri Om Narayanaya Vidmahi Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tano Vishnu Prachodyatehe Om Mahadevi Chavidmahi Vishnu Padnyata Dhimahi Tano Lakshmi Prachodyatehe Mahalakshmi Namastubhyam Namastubhyam Sare Sare Hari Priya Namastubhyam Namastubhyam Dhyadade Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radha Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhana Sute Devi Pranamani Hari Priya Namaham Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Pachani Nirvishesa Sunivadi Praskadadesa Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Good morning, welcome to Transcendental Tuesday. Rob's going to be traveling. He told me beforehand, so we won't have any takeaways from him. But we got Brent, the muse. Brent, the muse is strong in Brent. So hopefully we'll have some nice poetic renditions from Brent, soon to be initiated by Sheshika in San Jose area. So we'll see what happens. And Lila, our favorite Uber driver, has just jumped on board too. Thank you, Lila. She was very kind in taking our wonderful guest and visitor, Radhika Jivan, to the airport the other day so that Radhika Jivan could visit the devotees in Columbus, Ohio, see the temple project under construction there on his way back to South Africa. So thank you, as always, for your enthusiastic and selfless service, Lilavati. We've got we want to recap just a little bit where we ended yesterday. We talked about some of the comparisons that the commentators draw between Gajendra, Lila, and the position of Devaki, who was the mother of Krishna. Not too long ago, we had Janmashtami. Janmashtami is the one night a year when we stay up late because Krishna appeared at midnight in the prison house of Kamsa. And so the celebration goes until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning for those that can stay up. This year was on a Monday night, which is, from a practical point of view, the worst night to have it. And yet we had a huge crowd. We had perhaps as many as 3,000 people coming and going during the evening. And surprisingly, even though everybody had to work tomorrow or go to school, we had one of our biggest crowds in recent memory at the midnight arti. It was nothing short of astounding. Anyway, I mentioned this because life throws us curveballs. It's Krishna's job not to be predictable. He has this reputation of being less than straightforward, devious, shifty, unpredictable. You never know what he's going to do. That's God's job. If we knew everything he was going to do, if we had all the answers to our whys, where would be faith? Where would be the opportunities to trust him? Krishna's job is to change things up. When I was young, I was a pitcher. I came from a little town in Pennsylvania, Stallstown. There were about 100 people, maybe in the whole town. And it wasn't anything to do except play baseball, honestly. Summer vacation, June, July, and August. My brother and I would walk about half a mile down Route 711 to the baseball field. We'd meet some of our friends. We just played baseball all day long. I played baseball for like 10 years, Little League, Pony League. I will say that even though Stallstown was the smallest town in that particular Ligonier Valley League, Darlington, Waterford, Ligonier East, Ligonier West were all bigger population centers than Stallstown. Stallstown was the smallest. But all the years that we played, we always won the championship. We always beat the bigger and more populous areas. We whipped them. So anyway, I played baseball from the time I was old enough to hold a bat and throw a ball up through high school and even college. We had intramural baseball. I was in Hamel House. We won the championship with me pitching. I did a little stint in the JVs, and I was in varsity also. Okay, here's my point. There was one game I I was brought in to relieve. This was a Lawrenceville game, and we were playing maybe Princeton High School. And I was brought in as relief pitcher. The first pitcher, Pete Peterson, he'd gotten a lead, but he was an amazing pitcher. He had huge curveballs. Like I've never seen a ball curve as broadly as Pete Peterson. He threw knuckleballs. He threw sliders. He was a big, tall, lanky guy. Intelligence off the chart. He went on to become a marine biologist. He was the smartest guy in our class with a 4.0 grade average, but he was also an amazing pitcher. But he would get a little wild after a few innings. So he built up this lead, but he was starting to walk people. And so the coach put me in. And I blew it. They just hit me right and left. It was like batting practice for them. So I'll never forget what the coach said after that game. He said, one curveball would have gotten us out of the inning. I just clutched. I just kept throwing fastballs. I became predictable. The batters knew that I wouldn't be throwing any curves, any sliders, any knuckleballs. I was just in a uptight state of mind, just wanting it to be over. They were just teed off. I mean, I never pitched 2 or 3 innings worse in my life. But I remember the epitaph was one curveball would got us out of the inning. And I thought about that, and I was right. If I'd just been less predictable, if I'd just been willing to take a chance um, and do something unexpected, we would have gotten out of the inning a lot less wounded than we did. So that's a pitcher's job, to not be predictable. The more unpredictable he is, the better a pitcher is. So God's job is to develop our trust and our faith. He's not going to be predictable. He's going to do his job. No one's better at doing their job than God. And if God's job is to build us up, create character, qualify us for going back home, back to Godhead, then he's going to do his job in the best way it's possible to do it. And that means he's completely unpredictable. Therefore, Krishna, when he appeared 5,000 years ago, he sort of got this reputation of being rather shifty, not straightforward at all, because he's doing his job. Also, another point to consider is that when a batter is just getting curveballs straight down the pike, it doesn't really challenge his abilities. It doesn't make him a better batter to see the same pitch over and over and over again. If the pitcher changes the pitches up, throws a knuckleball, throws a slider, throws a fastball, throws a curveball, then then the batter becomes the better batter. In order to become the best batter that can be, you have to see all kinds of different looks. You have to see all kinds of different pitches. Similarly, in life, we're going to get curveballs, and those curveballs are to make us better, to increase our trust, take our faith to the next level. How many of us are wishing away the unpredictable factors in our life when Krishna is using those to qualify us for eternal life? Our topic last Sunday, Sunday feast was the hot winds of life. Sometimes we're going along, everything's perfect. We couldn't ask for better job, better kids, better wife, better house, better car, better retirement plan. We just think we've got everything under control. But it's God's job to upset the apple cart. It's God's job to send those little tornadoes, those little hurricanes into our life. When the disruptive winds come into our life and make everything topsy-turvy, one common feature is you never see it coming. You never are able to anticipate it. You may have taken all precautions. You may have insurance. You may have security measures. You may have the safest car that was ever manufactured. You may have your kids in private school. You may live in a gated community. But no matter how many things you've tried to anticipate, predict, preempt, and foresee, there'll always be things coming at you that you had not anticipated. Look at the classic example, right? You all know who I'm talking about, right? Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu, he had a boon from Brahma, the greatest of the demigods, the Lord of the universe, who lives in the topmost planet of the universe, who lives for an eternity practically compared to our lifespan. Hiranyakashipu could not conceive of a personality greater, personality more powerful than Lord Brahma. And from that personality, whom Hiranyakashipu virtually considered omnipotent, he got a series of boons that he couldn't die in the day or the night, inside the house or outside of the house, by any man or beast or by any weapon. He thought he had everything covered. He thought that with his superior intelligence, he'd anticipated anything that might come at him, and he felt confident that he could never die. But the Lord found a way, and the Lord will always find a way, will always find a loophole. Just like Ravana. Ravana had a boon, I believe, from Lord Shiva, that he couldn't be killed by any demigod. He didn't even mention human because he didn't consider any human would be powerful enough ever to challenge him. So therefore, the demigods, when they went to Lord Vishnu, they said, please come in such a way that the demons' boons are preserved, but we still kill him. Ram found a way. He came as a man. He came as Lord Ramachandra in the Raghu dynasty. Similarly, Krishna found a way to kill Hiranyakashipu. He remained elusive, unpredictable, shifty. He killed him as a half man, half lion incarnation. He didn't kill him with any weapon. He killed him with his fingernails. He didn't kill him inside of the house or outside of the house. He killed him on the porch. He didn't kill him by day or night. He killed him at twilight. And he didn't kill him on the land, air, or sea. He killed him on his lap. In ancient lore, we are told the story of a 5-year-old boy, Prahlad, whose faith in Krishna was pure and bold, ignited within the womb. His love shone like the moon. Krishna chants filled his soul, while his father's rage viciously unfolded. His father, Hiranyakashipu, a demon king, demanded worship and decreed that everyone his praises sing, but Prahlad's heart yearned to be free. His father used threats, torments to break his spirit, destroy his son. Though trampled, poison, thrown in the ocean, Prahlad's devotion remained unbroken. Through every trial, Prahlad held fast. The Lord protected him. He's passed every test. Even Holika, the demoness of fire herself, was burned on a flaming pyre. To kill the demon, the Lord emerged from a pillar with a mighty roar. Narasingha, a half man, half lion, tore the demon apart. Prahlad pleaded to Nrsimha with a tear in his eye, Lord, please hear my cry. Though my father was blinded by pride, consumed by hatred, break into his darkness and let mercy preside. Prahlad's devotion conquered all. The Lord made an exception out of his father and offered exemption for the soul. May the story of Prahlad be forever told. His faith was untamed, defied the demon king's rage. Devotion was his armor, come what may. Krishna's names never left his lips. May the fame of those who proclaim the glories of the Lord live forevermore. So in the case of Ravana, in the case of Hiranyakashipu, great demons who opposed God, who put themselves in opposition of God, being envious of him, the Lord came quite unexpectedly. Came as a man, in Ravana's case, which Ravana hadn't expected, and he came as a half man, half lion, which was the last thing that Hiranyakashipu expected. When the Lord burst out of the pillar in this never before seen form of ferocity, Hiranyakashipu just stood there. He couldn't believe his eyes. He thought he'd dropped some acid or something. It was like, what in the world? It was beyond anything that he could have ever predicted or imagination. No matter how much he was tripping, he couldn't have conceived of anything further out than what was facing him at that moment. So whether you're a demon opposing God or whether you're a devotee favoring God, God's going to change you up. It's not going to let you know what's coming. There's going to be curveballs in life. That's for your betterment. Of course, if you're opposing God, then you curse him for his figuring out how to bring you down despite your best efforts. You rant and rave and blame God, and you talk about how unfair it is. But favor is not fair. God does favor his devotees, and that's only natural. Father has equal regard for all of his sons, but for those sons who are not disobedient, who are not disrespectful, the Father has a special level of favor, a special level of love for them, and he's got special gifts, presents that he has in mind to enrich them with. Well, here's Gajendra at the peak of his power, completely happy as far as material things are concerned, unchallenged, the king of the elephants, residing on the heavenly planets with a lifespan of hundreds of thousands of years, beautiful family, beautiful environment, beautiful place to live, beautiful food, beautiful wives. Everything is just as good as it gets. It just doesn't seem fair that all of that could turn in a moment, on a dime. I remember hearing about one football player, Gale Sayers. I think Gale Sayers, one of the greatest running backs of all time. And yet, one time he got tackled in the wrong way and just bam, just in a split second, the career of one of the greatest running backs of all times finished. Went from being one of the greatest athletes on the planet to walking with a limp. That's the nature of it. Could turn on a dime. In the same way that Ravan got changed up, that Hiranyakashipu got changed up, the last thing they could ever have imagined or predicted happened to them. Similarly, Gajendra could never imagine that there would be anyone to oppose him. He thought he had got it all figured out. It was all covered. He had thought that he had predicted or preempted any avenue through which harm could come, and yet he was wrong. The Lord's always more intelligent than we are by at least an inch. So the Lord figured how to rock Gajendra's world. Now you might say it's unfair. Why? Gajendra had been a devotee of the Lord. Why wouldn't the Lord offer special favor? Why wouldn't he give his devotees a pass? Because he loves them too much. He doesn't want to get them stuck in this material world. This material world is like a prison house. It's not the goal of life to get a Class A cell in the prison house. There might be some prisoners that are eating bread and water in solitary confinement in the basement. And there might be other prisoners with curtains on their windows and TV privileges, and they're able to accept specially cooked dishes from outside. But the purpose of life is not to go from solitary confinement, from a Class C cell to a Class A cell. That's not solving the basic problem of being in prison. If you want to solve the most essential problems of life, you have to get out of prison. So it doesn't matter whether you're a demigod or whether you're an ant. You're subject to birth, death, disease, and old age. You're still in the prison house. Brahma has a Class A prison cell. The ant has a Class C prison cell, but they both have something in common. They're both subject to birth, death, disease, and old age. If you want a permanent solution to the conditions of material life, then you have to get out of the prison house, not just improve your condition. So this is why the Lord rocked Gajendra's world in the most unpredictable, swift, mind-numbing way, like a blink of an eye, a click of a finger. Everything that Gajendra had taken for granted was knocked from under his feet. The rug was swept from under his feet. His world was turned upside down. And to his credit, because he's a devotee, because he's not a Hiranyakashipu, because he's not a Ravana, he's a Bhakta, he immediately reset to the consciousness of his previous life as king in Naduna. Gajendra, elephant king in dangerous grip, his mind stripped of arrogance, his history unzipped, recalled mantras from a previous life, stripped away his attachment like a knife. Formerly a king in Naduna, now in elephant form, yet his prayers echoed, weathering the storm. Mantras resurfacing from the past, transcendental sound, awakening, memories profound. Even if a devotee falls from the path, Krishna heart keeps track. At the right time will take up the slack. He'll carry what you lack. He will get you back home, back to Godhead. Gajendra prayed to Krishna. Krishna, you're the cause, the result, the witness supreme, transcendentalist dream, unseen behind the material screen, the life in the machine. O Lord of might, give me protection, guide me through the darkness to the eternal light. Even if a devotee falls from the path, Krishna in the heart keeps track. At the right time, will take up the slack. He'll carry what you lack. He will get you back home, back to God. Through multi-potencies, you manifest your will, creating this universe, your purpose to fulfill. And when it's time to end, you absorb it all back like a spider retracts its web into its sack. Even if a devotee falls from the path, Krishna's heart keeps track at the right time. He'll take up the slack. He'll carry what you lack. He will get you back home, back to God. Gajendra continue to pray in this life or death circumstances. Krishna, you're the observer, the transcendental preserver above this creation, aloof like the sun. And yet with your energies, you bless everyone, simultaneously apart from this world in one. Even if a devotee falls from the path, Krishna's heart keeps track. At the right time will take up the slack. He'll carry what you lack. He will get you back home, back to Godhead. Last verse here. Chant Hare Krishna, the Mahamantra's call. In this life or the next, it will never fail. Once it's sown, the bhakti keeper will grow. Sooner or later, you will go back home, back to God. Then the refrain. Even if a devotee falls from the path, Krishna's heart keeps track. At the right time will take up a slack. He'll carry what you lack. He will get you back home, back to God. You see, in the same topsy-turvy circumstances, how devotees react differently than the non-devotees. The devotees take that sudden reversal of fortune, the hot winds blowing into their life, threatening to topple them over, to uproot them. They take that, they see that for what it is. They see it as the mercy, the loving touch of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They don't get all upset. They don't get bitter or resentful. They see that this is the hand of Krishna is in this challenge. The hand of Krishna is in this challenge. I saw that giraffes, when they have a baby giraffe, the baby giraffe is a delicacy. All the predators, hyenas, jackals, jaguars, lions, their most delicate meal is a baby giraffe. And the giraffe, with its long, ungainly legs, and when it first drops on the ground, it is totally defenseless. So it's a duty of the mother to get that baby giraffe its legs as soon as possible. We just had a llama birth here 3 days ago, a little baby girl. So, of course, there's no predators here. But if you were in the wild, you'd want to get that baby up, get its legs and muscles conditioned as soon as you can, because lying on the ground, there's only so much protection the mother can offer. Sooner or later, a baby who can't move on its own is going to be food for the predators. So what the mother giraffe does is, as the baby struggles to get up, it looks cruel. It looks pretty like you're thinking, how can a mother do this to her child? The giraffe is knocking the baby down repeatedly and tough. I mean, really banging that baby. Baby starts to get up and the mother knocks it down. The baby starts to get up and the mother knocks. And you'd think, well, does the mother want the baby to survive? Isn't it a good thing that the baby's trying to get up? And isn't it a fact that the sooner the baby gets up, the better the chances of survival are? But the mother knows something additional to this. The mother knows that it's through getting knocked down repeatedly and having to deal with the outside pressure, the hot winds, so to speak, the challenges, the unfair situation, the betrayal. It looks like a betrayal. It looks like when the little baby giraffe has almost got itself up, it's 7/8 of the way up. The mother cruelly and unfairly knocks it down. What is that all about? Isn't it a good thing that the baby giraffe would be able to get that 1/8 extra little oomph and get on its feet? No, the mother knows that the process of getting up and getting knocked down, almost getting up and getting knocked down, almost, is going to catalyze its conditioning. It's going to make it condition in a fraction of the time it would if it were on its own. Although it looks cruel, it looks unfair, it looks like a betrayal, this is the way the mother protects. This is the way the mother shows her love for the baby, her concern for the baby's survival. So in the same way, a devotee sees the hot winds of life, sees the challenges, sees the curveballs, sees the reverses, sees the betrayals as a manifestation of Krishna's love, because without them, we would not become the men and women of faith that we are created to be. Now consider Devaki. There are some parallels made by the commentators between Gajendra and Devaki. Gajendra, his downfall came when he went into the lake, when he went into the pond. He made himself vulnerable in the water because water was not his natural place of strength. He had a vulnerability in the water. And then in the water, Krishna sent the crocodile. The crocodile is Krishna's representative to challenge, like the curveball, the unseen challenge. That's the emissary of Krishna to precipitate Gajendra into his former consciousness as a devotee. So similarly, consider Devaki. We all acknowledge, we all know that the marriage day is the best day of a girl's life, at least up to that point. If it's a good husband and she gets to love him, it gets better. It gets better after marriage. The love matures. But up to that day in her life, the marriage day is the best day in the bride's life. And I've performed many marriages as the priest. And I always make it clear to the audience, this is her day. This is her day. In fact, when the bride makes her entrance with her bridesmaids, I insist that there be music played, conch shells blown, gongs banged, and I insist that the audience stand up. And for the ladies in the audience, I encourage them to do the. This is the girl's day. Doesn't get any better for a young girl than her marriage day. And Devaki was a princess from a royal family. Her father was the king of the Bhoja dynasty, Ugrasena. Her brother was the powerful Kamsa. She brought along with her a huge dowry of elephants, horses, chariots, beautiful serving girls. She was one of the most powerful, influential, beautiful girls of the day. It was her wedding day. Her husband was a man of spotless virtue. His reputation was known all over the three worlds. He was just known as a man who could never tell a lie, not even in jest. Vasudev. She'd just been married and she was on her way triumphantly to her new husband's house. Her whole life was looking bright as it could possibly be. Doesn't get any better than this, just as it didn't get any better for Gajendra than where he had been. Now, there are many parallels between Gajendra flush and Devaki, who is also flush at this moment, as she's being driven with her new husband by her brother to her new home. Curveball, unpredictability, reversal, the least expected thing. Out of the air comes this voice, this disembodied voice. Kamsa, you fool, you're driving the chariot of your sister. You do not know that her eighth son will kill you. And they're all on a dime. Krishna's done his job. He's done his job. He's pulled the rug out from underneath Devaki. He's spoiled, so to speak, quote unquote, all of her material happiness. The next many years, instead of living happily as a young, bashful bride with her new husband, managing the household, supervising the expenditures, organizing the servants, decorating the house, having a little vegetable garden, cooking in the kitchen, all those beautiful, tranquil, serene, peaceful, satisfied domestic chores, which a young girl is trained to do. Instead of that, she's thrown into a dungeon. She's thrown into the basement, deep, dark dungeon. She doesn't see the light of day for years. She doesn't have a little garden. She doesn't get to cook for herself. She gets peanut butter and jelly sandwiches shoved through a slot in the door. She doesn't get exercise. She doesn't get to enjoy a normal working relationship with her husband. And on top of all of that, as if that wasn't bad enough, each one of her first 6 children, they're killed in front of her very eyes by her own brother. I mean, if you're not a devotee, if you're not trained in devotional service, you're like, holy cow, how did Krishna? They're devotees of Krishna. Krishna is all powerful. He's in control of everything. Not a blade of grass moves. Not a sparrow drops to the ground. So Krishna must have gone on vacation for this. I mean, how could these unimaginable atrocities happen to someone who's so devoted that she has Krishna as her son? Krishna chose Devaki to come into this world through her womb. How is this possible? And yet the answer lies in Devaki's response. The answer lies in how the devotee accepts these so-called reversals of fortune. Devotees don't expect life to be predictable. Most of our frustration, most of our embitteredness comes from our expectations not being met. The devotee doesn't have unrealistic expectations. What the devotee's expectations are is that Krishna will make me and mold me. And it's understood that in order to make someone and mold them, there will be a little bit of suffering. I see if I can remember the story about 2 pieces of granite. They were friends. They've been extracted from the quarry together. And so one of the pieces of granite was being worked on. He was being chiseled and chipped away. And he would go, ow, ooh, ow, ooh, ow. And the other piece of granite was feeling very smug and complacent. He was looking at this fellow piece of granite being tortured with the torture of 1,000 cuts, you might say. He was feeling pretty superior, pretty chuffed, pretty smug. Day by day went by, and the little piece of granite, ow, ooh, ow, ow, ow. But then finally, out of that shapeless piece of granite emerged a beautiful Krishna deity playing his flute in his threefold band. And that deity, Krishna, that deity was taken to a temple and worshipped with incense and flowers and dressed and garlanded and offered foods. Whereas the piece of granite that had experienced none of those pains, none of that inconvenience, he was all left unfulfilled, lonely, frustrated, and even bitter in the end. So it takes chiseling to make a piece of granite, beautiful artwork, a beautiful worshipable deity. So this is when a devotee experiences reverses, they're not unexpected. A reverse in the life of a devotee is not the frustration of their expectations, because they don't want material opulences. I'm just working on a song, a song rendition of the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. The refrain goes something like this: I've seen it all, the worldly game, from Brahma's heights, the ant's domain. Krishna, time's your weapon, you conquer all through fleeting joys. I hear your call. No more heavens, no worldly prize, just a servant's heart beneath your skies. Devotion's path, that's my way, the eternal joy. I'll find my way. Folks chase heaven's long life and gold. Short-term gains, for short-term gains, their souls are sold. We can learn from my dad, Hiranyakashipu, whose power was immense. Against you, Lord, he had no defense. He was finished within a minute. Prahlad doesn't pray for earthly gains. Those are not his expectations. All he prays for is a servant's heart. The servant will take whatever the master has to give, whether it be honor, dishonor, hot, cold, wealth, or poverty, illness, or health. Whatever it is that the master sends the servant's way, one accepts that, trusting that the master has the servant's best interest at heart. So the same reversals came to Devaki, the same reversals came to Gajendra that had come to Ravana and Hiranyakashipu, and yet the reaction was totally different. Someone said life is only 1% what happens to you, and is 99% of how you react to it. And one interesting fact, and this we did mention yesterday also, people worship Krishna for worldly gains, mean misdirected. Krishna is not nearly so interested in enriching you from a worldly point of view as he is of stripping you from worldly attachments and making your soul a work of art, a masterpiece, letting your soul be a shining light to yourself and others. That's what Krishna, in order to bring out the beauty of the soul, he has to strip away. Just like a diamond may be encased in coal, you have to take away the coal in order to display the diamond in its full glory. So Krishna's priorities are your soul, not your body. So after not getting their bodily wishes, demands fulfilled, oftentimes people will give up the worship of Krishna and they'll worship a demigoddess or demigod, like Parvati or Maya or Durga. So we find Kamsa not being interested in the enrichment of his soul. He worships Shiva and Parvati. Parvati is an expansion, or Maya is an expansion of Parvati, in order to preserve and protect his material sense gratification. He's praying to Maya or Durga so that he can kill Krishna, that he can remove the obstacles to a sense gratification. So imagine the eighth child is alerted by his guards that Devaki has now her eighth child, the one that was predicted to kill him. So he rushes in and he sees, first of all, that the eighth child is not a male, but is a female because she'd been switched from the bed of Yashoda and Krishna placed there. And not only is she a female, but he finds out pretty quickly that she is his worshipful goddess. She is Durga. And she flies up in the sky. And instead of being pleased at the worship at her feet that Kamsa tendered, she's really mad. She's really mad at him. She says, "You fool, your death has already been transferred somewhere else." Kamsa must have been just totally stunned to get this. His expectation was that being worshipped, being flattered, that Durga be happy, Durga would expedite the fulfillment of his twisted desires, but just the opposite happened. She chastised him severely and told him that he was doomed because Krishna is her master. One time, Parvati asked Lord Shiva this question as described in the Padma Puranam. She said, "What is the greatest worship? Who is the greatest worshipful deity?" And she's asking this of Lord Shiva. Remember, Kamsa worshiped Lord Shiva and Parvati in order to be able to kill Krishna. And yet, the answer of Shiva to Parvati's question, who is the most worshipful? Vishnu Aradhanam Padam. Shiva, without hesitation, told his wife, the highest worship is worship of Krishna. Tajma Parataram Didi Tadiyanam Samacharam. Then he went on to say, there's a higher worship than the worship of Krishna, and that's the worship of Krishna's devotees. Krishna's devotees are more worshipful than God himself, because when God sends the hot winds of testing, his devotees don't fall apart. They don't get bitter. They don't blame. They have a smile on their face. They pass the test. They keep moving forward, despite all obstacles, despite the force of the winds,
providing resistance. And what happens when a plane gets winds against it? Plane is trying to take off. You don't want the winds to be with the plane. What gives the plane lift are when the winds come against the plane. And the winds coming against the plane, when you put the flaps down, the result is the plane lifts off. So more worshipful than the Lord himself are those devotees who accept unexpected circumstances, the curved balls of life, as a way to improve them, to take them up higher, to sharpen their skills, and to qualify them for going back to home, back to Godhead, where life is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. What's characteristic of the devotees is that the more the struggle, the more the darkness, the more the loss, the more the pulling of the crocodile into the water, the more the helplessness, the more the persecution, even from such a one as your brother, the more the devotee calls out in helplessness. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dr. Brent, a mother giraffe may knock her baby down to help the little one run around. It may seem cruel, but really it's just a tool. The loving mother may seem rude, but she's keeping her baby from becoming food. The mother knows that for a giraffe to be sturdy, it must first fall down and get dirty. In the end, he'll be able to run and defend, but he must fall down today. If tomorrow, he would avoid becoming prey. That is awesome. What a beautiful poem. Oh my gosh. Every single word is powerful, like a sledgehammer. A mother giraffe may knock her baby down to help the little one run around. It may seem cruel, but it's really just a tool. The loving mother may seem rude, but she's keeping her baby from being food. The mother knows that for a giraffe to be sturdy, it must fall down and get dirty. In the end, he'll be able to run and defend, but he must fall down today if tomorrow he would avoid becoming prey. Congratulations. That is one of your best poems, Brett. Awesome. Here's something else, too. You can pitch them all fast and straight, but sometimes a curveball is great. You can never predict your fate. Just take the curves with faith. You've got to adjust to the pitches instead of always running after comfort and riches. Sometimes the ball comes fast, sometimes slow. You never exactly how life will go. You know who controls the game, though. Again, you can pitch them all fast and straight, but sometimes a curveball is great. You can never predict your fate. Just take the curves with faith. You've got to adjust to the pitches instead of always running after comfort and riches. Sometimes the ball comes fast, sometimes slow. You never know exactly how life will go. You know who controls the game, though. Another good one. So Brent's here, obviously, of course, weighing forth with his creative efforts. Lilavati is here. She's giving a lot of kudos to Brent. I don't know if Brent noticed it, but a lot of stars and hearts coming from Lilavati's position here. Vaibhavi's with us. And Britta, our favorite wordsmith, our favorite authoress and poetess, is here. Pragna and Yogesh Shah, Haribo. Haribo. I just got an email from Prafulananda. They're having a Rath Yatra in Houston on November 9th. He wants me to go and be the MC. So I'm excited about that. Okay, that's it. And then Rob's on the road, so we won't get any takeaways from him. So that has been our Transcendental Tuesday. Thank you for those that have joined us. I hope that was worth your time, that you felt we learned something and shared a valuable experience together. And we'll look forward to being with you for our third and final session of the week, this time tomorrow, Wisdom Wednesday. In the meantime, we'll chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.